I know one or two of you who are watching this have probably experienced the feeling of loving someone who loves someone else. But I think the hardest part is trying to move on from that person. And let me tell you, these last few episodes are gonna be hella intense. To be honest, I didn't think it would take me the whole year to review this season. This could have been finished months ago, but I think I can try again depending on the next season. Regardless, I'm looking forward to these last 9 episodes, but how will they be able to pull it off? Guess we'll have to find out. This is probably going to be the longest part of this review, because there's a lot to talk about and a lot of ground to cover. Gokigen yo everyone, the Starlight Let's Player is here, and this is the grand finale of the Happiness Charge Pretty review. The day has come as we get through these final moments of this season. Can Hiname and her friends save the Blue Sky Kingdom once and for all? Let's find out. Queen Mirage would make her move as she summons an entire army of Psyarchs all over the world. Phantom is unsure whether or not Mirage would be happy to see Blue and the Earth engulfed in misfortune. Seeing all of this, he may suggest that they should head to the Phantom Empire to defeat Queen Mirage once and for all. And so Blue takes everyone there. Megami and the others transform to deal with all the Psyarch guards. Now they're able to fully use their full powers thanks to the Shining Make Dresser. Unfortunately, everyone got separated due to the intensity of the fog, and as if that wasn't enough, Cure Honey would end up running into Phantom, leading into an amazing fight between these two. I love how evenly matched Honey and Phantom are. It's clear that Honey has gotten stronger after their first fight. During the battle, Honey questions Phantom, asking if making Mirage's wish is truly his wish. Phantom realizes that Mirage has changed and wants to spread misfortune everywhere, and if that's her wish, then he'll do anything to make it true no matter what happens to him. Talk about dedication there. This is why I like Phantom a lot. The dynamic between him and Mirage is something that I can admire so much. Honey manages to convince Phantom that she'll save Mirage and bring back her smile. However, Deep Mirror uses his powers to control Phantom. Luckily, Lovely and the others made it to Honey's aid, and the four transform into their innocent forms, purifying Phantom with the innocent purification. Turns out that he was actually Mirage's fairy known as Fanfan. Now, that's quite the turn of events there. Everyone made their way into the castle, dealing with a whole army of Choarchs in order to escort Blue to where Mirage is. Fanfan insists on leading them to where she is, however the generals stood in their way. So Princess, Honey, and Fortune suggest that Lovely should take Blue to where Mirage is, while they deal with the 3 generals themselves. And this will lead into 3 all-out battles that are far better than the ones in episode 29. The 3 solo fights begins and... Nah, bro, was it really necessary to spank her ass with your cane? Namakoto's wilding here. It should be obvious that Hoshiwa doesn't give a fuck about sharing with others, saying it's better to eat whenever you want without caring about anyone else. But Honey disagrees and says that it's better to eat together rather than by yourself. Orsky claims that fighting by yourself is what makes you stronger. And Namakilda claims that working hard doesn't benefit anyone, which is complete bullshit, especially after what happened in episode 40. That was due to all the hard work they put in and were able to surpass the Psyarchs in power, speed, and strength. The 3 cures would stick to their morals and would each transform into their innocent form, using their signature moves to purify the 3 generals. I really like these fights a lot. They felt personal and were deep reflections of themselves. They all share the same morals but in different ways, and with how these fights are executed and is something to appreciate. While that's all wrapped up, Lovely and the others were able to make it to Mirage's room, setting up the stage for the final battle. Fanfan tries to reason with Mirage, but she ain't willing to listen. Ugh, I never thought I'd be hearing myself saying this, but Lovely, please shut the fuck up. Blue is most definitely in the wrong here. He's the main reason Mirage ended up being the evil Goth Queen. This conflict will result in an epic battle between Lovely and Mirage, and it's clear that Mirage is in full control of the fight, to the point where she questions Lovely about her knowledge of love, and she continues to beat the ever-living hell out of Lovely. Honey and Fortune would end up meeting with Princess, hoping that Lovely's okay.
If I die young, bury me in satin, lay me down on a bed of roses.
I'm sorry. I just couldn't resist doing that. Okay. Lovely believes that Mirage's wish to engulf everything into darkness is a complete lie. Oh, I am so not ready for the next episode, but more importantly, this is a one-sided love on Lovely's end. She knows that Blue doesn't love her that way, but would still tell Mirage that. What a hopeless romantic she is. Round 2 of the fight began, this time with Lovely being in control of the fight, saying that she wants Mirage to be happy with Blue. She then transformed into her innocent form and was this close to getting through Mirage, but Deep Mirror would interfere, manipulating her once again, causing her to transform into her third form. How many forms is this woman gonna have in one fight? Either way, this fight is close to reaching its conclusion. And just when Lovely was on the verge of being defeated, Princess, Honey, and Fortune saved her in time. And with their combined powers, the Blue Sky Kingdom was saved, the rest of the international cures was saved, and Mirage was purified and saved as well. Blue finally confessed to her, and they would end up sharing a kiss in the end. So, that's the end of Happiness Charge, right? Oh, right. I forgot about him. The Blue Sky Kingdom has been restored once and for all, with Princess reunited with her parents and Fan reunited with Mirage. Both Blue and Mirage thanks Megami for what she did, and when the fuck did Seiji get here? Dill literally showed up out of nowhere. Either way, he was starting to feel concerned about Lovely. A heartbroken Megami was laying in her bed when Hime, Yuko, and Aina pulled up at her house to cheer her up and celebrate now that the world is at peace. After everything that's happened here, y'all now want to start blaming Blue for the mess he made? Nah, it's too late for that, Toots. You should have said so when you had the chance. Instead, y'all were giving him too much sympathy for something that he caused. Jealousy is thy name, Megami. Also, I can't stop laughing at their expressions. They look way too funny. And I'm not gonna lie, it is pretty funny hearing them talk shit about the love god. When it became morning time, Seiji tells Megami to go out with him for a bit, and the two were starting to have fun together. Finally, these two are getting proper screen time alone. Soon, Seiji would tell Megami to be truthful with him, asking her if she was truly happy. Okay, let's talk about this scene for a bit. Remember when I said that the hardest part is moving on from the person you were in love with due to them falling in love with someone else? This scene drives that point home. As I said before, this was a one-sided love on Megami's end. She was the one who fell in love with Blue, knowing that Blue is in love with Mirage. It was obvious from the start that if Megami goes along with bringing Mirage back, she would lose the one she's in love with. It was a huge price for Megami to pay, but she was willing to go along with it to make Blue happy. So to see her heartbroken and sad is really painful to watch, but at the same time, this is a lesson that Megami has to learn. You should never fall in love with someone who's in love with someone else, and I hope she learns from this. Now of course, this kind of grief would awaken the true villain of this season, and Mirage explains her experience being manipulated by him. Yeah, I was not expecting that. So, I looked up color hearing to fully understand, and it led me to the actual term, synopsis. or synesthesia, if you want to call it that, is the production of a sense impression relating to one sense or part of the body by stimulation of another sense or part of the body. There are many different types of synesthesia, and in this case, it's chromesthesia, where a sound can evoke an experience of color, shape, and movement. This is a very rare case, but it's not something to worry about. Now, I apologize for the science lesson, but I had to explain it since it relates to Mirage hearing a red voice. Anyway, Seiji tells Megami that she'll find happiness as long as she has him and everyone else. After being chilled up by Seiji, Megami encounters a red Psyarch. This alerts everyone else, and Megami transforms into kill Lovely to stop it. But throughout the fight, she would hear an evil voice coming from this guy, and he tries to manipulate her the same way he did to Mirage. However, after hearing Seiji's voice, Lovely was able to break free. Seiji rushes to her aid, and Lovely declares that she wants to be happy without destroying the world.
届かない思いも全部受け入れてみんなと一緒に幸せを探していきたい
She's finally learning to move on. Now that's what I like to hear. Also, I love how the song Where Courage is Born is playing in the background of the fight. It adds a nice touch to it. And fortunately, Princess Honey and Fortune arrive in time to save Lovely for the Psyarch attack. The quartet managed to defeat the Red Psyarch, and Megami then thanks everyone for being by her side. Oh shit, now he's gonna target Seiji next. Now, I honestly didn't think I'd spend this much time talking about this episode, but there were a bunch of details in this episode that I had to explain. This was a very amazing episode to go through. Now, I've already covered episode 45 in my Christmas episodes review, so you can pause here to watch that or wait to the end of the video to do that. But to recap what happened at the end of the episode, everyone finds out that the one behind all of this was Red, as he was also the one controlling Mirage. And just like Blue, he's also a god as well. But to make things even worse is this. Yep, he used his power to corrupt Seiji, turning him into his pawn. Now that is amazing to look through. Blue tells the girls that the crystal on Seiji's chest was born from Red's heart and is used to control Seiji. Now he's known as Dark Seiji. It's a name I came up with, okay? So they end up fighting Seiji, trying to destroy the crystal in order to bring him back. But all four of them were no match for him. たちの心を常に支えてきた存在。しかし彼の本当の気持ちをお前たちはきちんと救い取ってきたのか。誰にも言えない気持ち。憎しみの結晶はそんな彼の心の影に反応したのだ。So because Megami neglected Seiji's feelings, something that he couldn't reveal, that crystal reacted to a shadow of feelings that was inside his heart, turning him into a powerful fighter filled with hatred. Yeah, this definitely blew up in Megami's face, and I'll tell you why. It was obvious that Seiji was in love with Megami and was very close to her, but throughout the second half of the season, she never really noticed it. And the love triangle between her, Seiji, as well as Blue, that really played a key factor into it. Because Seiji felt jealous of Blue, and he couldn't handle him being around Megami. So much so that he ended up confronting Blue about her. Now you can make the argument that Seiji had many chances of confessing to Megami, but it was very clear that Megami was in love with Blue. Sure, some of the scenes were a little sus, especially the scene where Blue was carrying Megami to bed. Imagine taking that out of the context. But Blue made it very clear that he had and still does love Mirage with all his heart. And again, I know I'm repeating myself, but this was a one-sided love on Megami's end. Now, I can't really blame Megami that much. She's a 15-year-old girl and obviously she didn't know any better. But at least she had the courage to move on. Even though it was too late at the end and she couldn't save the one person that was in love with her and was by her side the whole way through. So Red summons a giant red planet to destroy the Earth, as well as an entire army of red Psyarchs causing mayhem around the world. with Megami and the others hanging on to dear life as a red Psyarch appeared in front of them. However, Cure Tender appears and saves them in time. She then encourages them to not give up, and soon the Aloha Pretty Cure, along with the other international cures, would appear as well, also giving them their support. And with that, the Happiness Charge team gets back on their feet and would team up with Aloha Pretty Cure and Cure Tender to defeat the Red Psyarch. Afterwards, the four head over to the Red Planet, leaving the Earth in everyone else's hands. Megami finally realized that Seiji's been the one she needed to protect and is truly precious to her. As they make their way to the Red Planet, Seiji stands in their way. This will result in a fight where they are evenly matched with him thanks to their innocent forms. Princess Honey and Fortune held Seiji off, giving Lovely the chance to attack him with a giant Lovely punch. Both her punch and Seiji's shield would end up breaking. Afterwards, Lovely punches Seiji all the way down to the Red Planet. Dude really knows how to repeat himself a lot. Like, seriously, we get it. You hate love, okay? So Lovely claims that she could feel Seiji's feelings after punching the crystal, and she also insists on finding him alone, not just to keep him from hurting the others, but also to try and get through to him. During the fight, Lovely thanks Seiji for being there for her, even before she became a Pretty Cure. With Red starting to become worried, Blue acknowledges Lovely for finding her true path. Seiji then launches a supernova right at Lovely, but she was able to absorb the blast and launches her pinky love shoot at him, giving her the chance to embrace him. And my god, this scene is really wonderful. These two have really been through a lot, and it seems like these two have grown a lot throughout these shows. This episode really did them justice by giving them a lot of screen time together. So after reaching Seiji inside the crystal, he was purified and will return back to normal with the power of the innocent purification. Now all that's left is to defeat Red and save the world. Man, I cannot wait to tear this redhead bastard a new one. So the International Cures watches as the Red Planet is getting closer to destroying the world. Okay, we get it. You believe that love is an illusion. Can you please shut up about it? So after hearing that nonsense for like the 5th time, the girls finally face off against Red in a really well executed fight. I love how they're just mostly throwing hands, and the fact that they're evenly matched is pretty cool. Obviously, this is the hardest battle they have to fight, so they tried to use the instant purification, but even that didn't do anything. He then overpowers everyone, knocking them out of their innocent forms. Then he traps them in mirrors, but at the last second, Seiji ends up sacrificing himself to save Lovely from getting caught. So, you basically couldn't save your own damn planet from looking the way it is, and because Blue Planet is still the same as it is, you want to destroy it out of sheer jealousy. You could have asked Blue for help. Why go out of your way to destroy something out of jealousy? And why hold a grudge against Blue over something like that? It's extremely petty and you know it. So Lovely tries to reason with Red, knowing how much he's been in pain, and also volunteers to help him, but... Okay, 1, that's not how love works, and 2, she's 15! You know, I find it real funny that people would call Blue a creep, yet I don't see the same kind of energy towards this piece of shit villain. Let me get this straight. You manipulated Mirage into hating Blue because of some petty grudge. You corrupted Seiji's heart after you tried manipulating Megami. You summoned your damn planet to crash into the earth, and the last fucking thing you do after that is to manipulate Lovely into loving you. Get the fuck out of here. Look, I don't think Red is the worst villain in Pretty Cure. Seriously, somebody else took that spot. But his intentions are just so goddamn petty. And with how he's putting the moves on Lovely, it's just awful. Like, say what you want about the pairing between Nozomi and Coco. Say what you want about the relationship between Usagi and Mamoru in the Sailor Moon anime. I don't care. But none of those doesn't even compare to this. This is a god hitting on a 15-year-old. Yet people don't really talk about this, but are so focused on Blue, someone who is not into Megami like that, and only has feelings for Mirage. Give me a fucking break. We see Mirage in her Cure form knocking down a red Psyarch, while also with Sunset, Wave, and Tender. And with the planet getting closer, Blue suggests that they should send their prayers to Lovely to grant her the power to defeat Red. Lovely tries to reason with Red again, even though that gloriously failed before, but with the combined powers and prayers of all the Cures into one, Lovely manages to gain new precards, and she uses them to transform into Forever Lovely. After freeing her friends, Lovely takes on Red all by herself. And I already praised and raved about this fight in my first Unpopular Opinions video. Seriously, this fight is so good. I love how amazing the attacks were executed. I look at this fight and it reminds me of the fight between Super Saiyan God Goku and the God of Destruction Beerus. Shenron reveals that 5 Saiyans have to give their power to another Saiyan to create a Super Saiyan God. And in this case, Goku had to absorb the power of Gohan, Goten, Trunks, Vegeta, and his soon-to-be granddaughter to become a Super Saiyan God. And after succeeding in becoming one, he faces off against Beerus in an epic battle. Maybe Tatsuya Nagamine was inspired by the Battle of Gods movie and wanted to make the final battle between Lovely and Red similar to the battle between Goku and Beerus. I know I might be reaching a bit here, but seriously, you can't tell me these fights are similar to each other. Both heroes were given powers from their loved ones, both used that power to achieve their super forms, and both would each face off against a god that's trying to destroy the earth. So I do think this was planned out, and I really appreciate Nagamine for how he planned this last fight out. Lovely uses her Forever Happiness Shower to purify Red. This attack would also spread around the world, defeating every last Psyarch and Choarch in the process. Blue and Mirage appears, and it's revealed that Red's the older brother of Blue. So he and Mirage decides to leave Earth to help Red rebuild his planet, saying goodbye to our beloved heroines. But they receive crystals as thanks for all the help they've done, and will return back to Earth. Now everything's peaceful again. All the generals were restored as humans. Orski now works as a policeman, Hoshua now works as a kindergarten teacher, and Namakelta is on his way to work. We would also see a cameo of Tsumugi from the Happiness Charge movie. Fan now works at Yuko's restaurant, and I didn't think he still have his human form though. But all the more reasons for him and Yuko to spend some time together at a restaurant. Hime decides to graduate with Megami and the others, despite her parents wanting her to come home. Seriously, you can't tell me that this doesn't hint that these two now have feelings for each other. Hell, both the crystals are together in the last scene. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of Happiness Charge Pretty Cure. Okay, before I give my overall thoughts on this season, I think it's important that I give my final thoughts on these last 9 episodes. Now these episodes really showed a lot of intensity throughout the last 2 chapters of this season. Honey vs Phantom was amazing, though it kind of felt like a one-sided fight on Phantom's end, because Honey was really trying to save both him and Mirage. Either way, I love the chemistry between these two, and because of how much stronger Honey has gotten, her being able to stand against Phantom on her own made it even better. Now this doesn't compare to the previous fight, but I do love the fights between 3 of the Happiness Charge Cures and the Orski trio. As I said before, the generals are like deep reflections of the Cures. Hime was lazy and selfish, Yuko wants to eat good food with everyone around her, and Ayana thrived to become stronger as a solo person. They're the same as the generals, but they were able to break free from their characters, specifically Hime and Ayana. Every member of the team really has shown a lot of growth, but the main one to get the most focus is Megami. she had the courage to tell Mirage that she's in love with Blue. All while he was watching the fight while being bound to the wall, yet he still has his eyes set on Mirage. So I ask you, do you still think Blue's a creep? Now if your answer is still yes, then I don't know what to tell you. Still, I think the final fight between Lovely and Mirage was really dope. In fact, I say it's on par with the fight against Dark Tender. Both of these fights were extremely emotional in different ways, but they definitely worked well on their own. Let me tell you my experience when watching episode 44 of this show. I was 15 years old at the time. I was enjoying the episode so far. I absolutely loved the scene where Princess reunited with her parents as the Blue Sky Kingdom was restored. It was a very touching moment, and at that point, Hime's story was wrapped up completely. But when I got to the part where Megami started crying due to the aftermath of what happened in the end, I also shed tears at that scene. Yeah, no bullshit. I actually cried when watching that. I pretty much grew attached to Megami, and because of how much I've been heartbroken in the past. And even to this day, I still feel sorry for her, and I'm glad that she's able to move on and keep moving forward after that. And I know I haven't talked about it, but Seiji telling Megami to be happy herself even when she's doing her best to make others happy was very needed, and I'm glad he's the right person to do so. And speaking of Seiji, I do admire the screen time he's been given while being alone with Megami, and it bums me out that these two didn't end up being together. Still, I did enjoy the fight between him and Lovely when he was corrupted. It kind of reminds me of the fight between Masamune and Toby back in Beyblade Metal Masters. Toby was corrupted into becoming Faust, and it took the combined powers of Jenga's Galaxy Pegasus and Masamune's Ray Striker to take down Faust and his Twisted Tempo. But Masamune was not only able to bring Toby back, but he also managed to repair his friendship with Zio. So in a way, these two fights are pretty similar to each other. So what about the red-haired bastard himself, Red? Well, I will say the final fight between him and Forever Lovely is the best fight in Pretty Cure history. This is one of the big reasons why I would consider Lovely as one of, if not the strongest Pretty Cure ever. This is almost on the level of Dragon Ball Z in a way. Still, even with an amazing fight, Red is one of the most underwhelming villains in this franchise. The amount of screen time he's been given doesn't even compare to the other villains in the Phantom Empire, and his reasoning for wanting to destroy his younger brother's planet is just so damn petty. And as far as the animation goes, for the most part, I think it's pretty good, well, except for episode 46. Again, it doesn't work when Hoshino is being given the animation role. As I said before, these final episodes were hella intense, but for the right reasons. And the final episode was the perfect send-off for a season I really enjoyed. Now that Happiness Charge Pretty Cure is over, this is where I give my final thoughts and opinions on this season. I think this was a really intense but amazing Pretty Cure season. Do I still think it's the best Pretty Cure season of all time? Oh, hard yes. But I'm not going to pretend that it's flawless because this season does have its flaws. So let's look at the actual problems of this season. Firstly, the animation on some of these episodes. I don't know if Mamoru Hoshino actually meant for the animation to look like this, or maybe he wasn't given enough time for some of these episodes, but oh man, goddamn, do they look so atrocious. Over 5 of these episodes have Hoshino as the animation director, and not a single one looks good. I can also say the same for episode 16, which has some elements of bad animation. Though this episode was done by Mitsuru Aoyama, who's actually the animation director for every single All-Stars movie, not to mention a few episodes for every Pretty Cure season. For the most part, I never liked his work, but there are some episodes I thought looked great. He's only done 3 Happiness Charge episodes, and with the exception of episode 16, episodes 22 and 28 doesn't look that bad. I actually think the animation in those 2 episodes are solid. And then there's the overkill of adding more than one animation director to work on an episode. Who thought it was a good idea to add more than one chef in the kitchen? The animation for the most part is amazing, and I like it a lot during the well-intense battles, but it does have some bad animation in the season, and I think you know the ones who are responsible for that. Secondly, the pre-cards plot element was dropped after Fortune made her wish with them, which I don't fully understand. I mean, restoring the Blue Sky Kingdom was Hime's mission, so using the cards was unnecessary, because even if the kingdom was restored, Queen Mirage would just reconquer it all over again. But why drop something like this all of a sudden? I mean, it makes sense for Megami since her mother's already feeling better, but they are still collecting pre-cards after their fights. There are many things wrong with this sort of thing. If they were trying to make this a plot element, then they should have done a better job at it. Thirdly is how they handled the last few episodes. Everything is all wrapped up in episode 44, Mirage is saved, the Earth is saved, and the Blue Sky Kingdom has been restored. This could have been the ending if Deep Mirror wasn't a thing, but the show would have been 44 episodes instead of 49. And the last 5 episodes centering around Red being the true villain. Now, I have my issues with Red once I talk about the characters, but I think they could have done more justice for the final stories. If Red was made out as the true villain of the season, why not make it to where he's in control of the Phantom Empire, instead of actually being the background character mind controlling everybody else? Because when Queen Mirage was purified, so was the Blue Sky Kingdom. She was the one who conquered it after all, but it was only because she was corrupted and brainwashed into doing so. She was made out to be the main villain, only to be pushed aside for the true villain, and I think that's where things got a bit messy there. The fourth problem with Happiness Charge is how underwhelming the international cures were. As I said before, it would have been cool to see some of them have their own episodes like the Aloha Pretty Cure did. Hell, maybe an episode with the Happiness Charge team travel around the world to help out some of the international cures. I think it would have been better if they gave these cures more focus and to utilize them more. But they're just as background characters, and the only major time they were useful was during the final battle against Red's army of Psyarchs. A lot of them were captured and trapped in mirrors, with the rest of them defending their own countries. But none of them have gotten proper screen time. No episode centered on some of them. Again, I love the concept of adding cures from around the world, but this was a serious missed opportunity. Lastly, and I'm not sure if I can count this as a negative, but the series is a little bit similar to Heartcatch. For starters, the Psyarchs and Choarks are similar to the Senakis and Desertrians. The Shining Make Justice is just like the Heartcatch Mirage. Like Moonlight vs Dark Pretty Cure, there was Lovely vs Unlovely. Hitomi and Yoshida and Sayaka Nakaya appear as a special guest. Just like Mayukudo and Aya Ikeda, both Yuri and Ayana had tragic pasts because they lost their dear loved ones. Only difference is that Ayana was able to save her older sister with the help of her friends, but Yuri's fairy partner as well as her father are completely gone forever. Erika and Hime are both the funniest one in the duos, yet there's a lot going on here. And it has to do with both seasons having the same series director, Tatsuya Nagamine, and while both of these seasons are different from each other, the similarities that they share is pretty apparent. Now you can consider this a good thing or a bad thing, but personally I am indifferent towards this. But hey, I said this was the best Pretty Cure season I've ever watched. I admire what they've done with the 10th anniversary. They really went all out without doing too much. A season to air, a spectacular All-Stars movie, a decent series movie, having all the cures doing celebratory messages, hell, even the Happiness Charge cures celebrating the 500th episode. International cures being a thing, a new stage remix of Pretty Cure Memory, and to top it all off, the video game as well. It may seem like a lot, but the 10th anniversary had way better care than the 15th anniversary. Now despite the last 2 arcs not getting enough justice and the pre-cards being dropped in the second half, I really had a blast with the story overall. A lot of the characters had their stories concluded and wrapped up in a nice little bow. And oh my god, the fantastic music! The OST is really lovely to listen to. The vocal soundtracks are also amazing to listen to. I love how Aloha Pretty Cure got their own musical score in the second vocal soundtrack. I mean, they are voiced by Hitomi Yoshida and Sayaka Nakaya, so it does make sense for them to do this. Just like they did with Kaneko Miyamoto and Doki Doki. I do love the opening theme done by Sayaka, and Party Has Come by Hitomi is such a bop to listen to. Now Yuko's Rise song is so beautiful to hear, and the sheer goodness of Hime and Ayana's duet song is soothing to my ears. From the lovely tune of Innocent Harmony, to the amazing sound of Pretty Cure Memory and his new stage remix, from the sweet sound of Dodeka Love to the epicness of Where Courage is Born. These soundtracks are amazing to listen to, and I can't recommend them enough for you to listen to. Definitely on the same level of goodness as Star Twinkle and Maho Girls. But now I think it's time we finally talk about the actual characters themselves. I love how the generals were. They were comical, but their motives were pretty decent. Though I do wish they had more time to become better villains. I mean, they are a reflection of 3/4 of the Happiness Charge team. Namakilda's the lazy guy who's obviously not a fan of effort and hard work, so he's pretty much a reflection of how Hime used to be. Oshiwa loves to eat sweets, and she even sings, so she's a reflection of Yuko. Only difference is that her singing is fried ass, and Orski thrives to become number 1, and to become stronger and straightforward as a solo person. So he's a reflection of how Ayano used to be, though I pretty much feel for him in episode 37. They do act as a way for these 3 cures to develop into better versions of themselves, and Orski does have more personality than Namakilda and Hoshiwa, but overall, they feel more like fodder compared to Phantom. And speaking of Phantom, he's easily the best general of them all. Phantom is like the boogeyman to all the cures. He captures cures and traps them in mirrors because that's his job, and he's someone that I can take more seriously than the generals. He doesn't have a sense of brainwashing them. He's completely loyal to Mirage of his own free will. Not to mention that he's powerful enough to handle more than 1 cure. I also completely understand his pure hatred towards Blue. After all, he is the right-hand man of Mirage, and he'll do anything to make Mirage's wish come true, even if it means putting his life on the line. And if it also means getting rid of Blue, well, that's something he's willing to do. Oh, and I didn't even forget about his interactions with Yuko, which I actually enjoyed. I think the writers really did Phantom justice. Hell, even when he was purified, I still enjoyed the amount of screen time he was given, especially where he started working alongside Yuko at a family's restaurant. Now, Queen Mirage really had that edge of a female villain, despite being manipulated by Red. Still, she really believed that Blue had no feelings for her, and that really drove her to become this evil and corrupted villainess of a woman. She wasn't just a villain, she was also a victim of the love god's bullshit. Even when she was purified, she still had it in her as a cure. I can easily say that Mirage was better headed than Red because goddamn do I hate Red with a fucking pure passion. What a piece of shit villain he is. Firstly, he has some of the most repetitive lines I've heard since Zamasu from Dragon Ball Super. Love is an illusion, love brings despair. Like, he is literally pounding it in way too deep, and I'm like, please shut the fuck up. Not to mention how underwhelming he was as a true villain. Yeah, true villain, my thick ass. He only serves as the manipulator behind a damn mirror throughout the season. I don't understand the appeal behind this red-headed bastard. And I said what I said about him putting the moves on Lovely. You're a fucking god, yet you're trying to manipulate a 15-year-old girl into falling in love with you. Firstly, that's not how love works, and secondly, she's a teenager! And of course, his reasoning for wanting to destroy his own younger brother's planet was pure jealousy. His planet pretty much became dead, and after seeing Blue's planet looking real healthy, he wants to destroy it out of pure jealousy. That's the stupidest damn thing I've ever heard. It's not as bad as Hardy Jones' reasoning for wanting to kill humans back in One Piece, but it's extremely petty in my opinion. Again, he could have easily went to Blue for help instead of attempting to destroy the Earth out of petty jealousy. But nope, my planet isn't as beautiful as my brother's, so if I can't have a luscious planet, then neither could he. Yeah, fuck you, Red! Now I've said what I said about Blue, and I'll say it again. While it may have felt hypocritical of Blue to not allow Kyrus to fall in love, I can understand his reasoning for this. He didn't want the same thing happening to Megami and the others. Blue was in love with Mirage, obviously, but because he's a god and that he has to love everybody, he had to cast aside his true feelings, which made Mirage believe that he didn't have any romantic feelings towards her, causing her to become Queen Mirage due to Red's manipulation. Now, it was irresponsible of him, and I think he should have confessed earlier when he had the chance, so I can understand why he didn't want any of the Kyrus to fall in love. I do, however, find it a bit odd that he would have the main force to redo the damage that he made himself. But to be fair, I don't think he had that kind of power to take on an entire army of Psyarchs, Choarks, the generals, and Mirage herself. I do, however, disagree with Lovely saying Blue did nothing wrong when he was the main reason why Queen Mirage ended up in the state that she was in before getting purified back to normal. Not to mention everybody making it seem like Blue was the innocent one when he clearly wasn't. But still, I can cut him some slack because he did try to get through Mirage in episodes 38 and 43. And it's not his fault Megami fell in love with him, which I find pretty ironic. Now obviously Blue doesn't have any feelings towards her. Hell, he didn't even know that Megami had a crush on him, nor is he even trying to get her to fall in love with him. It does feel like he was getting a little too close to Megami, but he had no intention of trying to make her fall in love. In the end, not only was he able to apologize and confess to Mirage, but he was also able to reconcile with his older brother Red. So if anything, Blue was a pretty decent character. He has his flaws, but I don't think he's awful like people make him out to be. Now, I admire the fact that Ribbon had to take the motherly role since Himei's actual mom was captured alongside everyone else. Despite her back and forth with Himei, she deeply cares about her a lot. And the same can be said about Glacon. When Maria was defeated and captured, Glacon had to take the older sister route, and I love the chill cool girl personality she's got going on. Not to mention her trying to convince Ayana to team up with Happiness Charge, despite knowing about her vendetta against Himei. I like these two panda fairies, but I do like Glacon a bit more. She just has that classy vibe. And the last character to talk about before getting into the main four is Seiji. He is easily the best supporting character in this season. He's been childhood friends with Megami and Yuko, so it was obvious that he'd be hell-bent on protecting and fighting side by side with Megami no matter what. And yeah, that's the best part. He fought alongside Megami and the others. I want you to let that sink in. An actual human fought alongside Megami and the others against an army of Choarks. No other supporting character before this season has ever done that. With that being said, I do feel sorry for the dude. It was obvious that he started developing a crush on Megami, but was afraid of sharing those feelings to her due to her falling in love with Blue. And we all know how that went down. Regardless, his contributions should be fully respected. He has a good amount of screen time, he had the balls to fight against the Choarks, and overall, he's a chill dude with a heart of gold. If anything, Seiji's one of, if not the best supporting character in the franchise. And if he was a cured, then I'd be totally fine with that. Now with that being said, let's see how the Happiness Charge team developed. Ayana is pretty much top 5 for best Pretty Cure 6 Rangers. She didn't follow the 6 Ranger formula, but she really had a vendetta against Himei, which was understandable because Himei did open Axia. And yes, she was manipulated into doing that, but Ayana still had every right to put the blame on the one who's responsible for this mess. Not to mention her sister being captured by Phantom while trying to protect her. So you can't really get on Ayana's case for that. Though this does lead to a few questions about that. Firstly, how did Ayana find out about the Blue Sky Kingdom being taken over by the Phantom Empire? And how did she know that Himei's the one who caused that to happen? There's no way her sister would have told her about it because she was busy fighting Phantom. Maybe before her bout against Phantom, but there's no clear evidence on that. And if Glacon told Ayana about it, why didn't they explain this in the show? There was no flashback on how Ayana found out about the whole thing or anyone ever telling her. And even if that was the case, she'd still probably blame Himei for it anyway. I think it would have been better if they paid a little more attention to detail on that aspect. But despite all of that, her and Hime did mate up and the two became friends and teammates. I even love the fact that she was willing to learn and understand true love back in episode 32. And when they got her sister back, that was it for me. Episode 38 was an amazing episode for Ayana. Let's also not forget her being able to learn about teamwork. Despite how pretty strong she is and the fact she can hold her own against her foes, one thing that she really had to learn was teamwork. This was very apparent in episodes 19 and 22. Not only did she not cooperate with Hime in the soccer game, but she lost badly to Phantom. I understand her vendetta against Hime, but this girl has too much pride when it comes to working alone, and I'm really glad she learned the ways of teamwork. The writers of this season truly made her into a confident character with the absolute best character development, and while she may not be my favorite of the quartet, she's definitely second best. Yuko is sort of a white mage of the four when in battle sometimes, as she sings her main rice song, which gives any cure a lot of energy, and she uses her honey healing rhythm, which heals the injuries of a cure or a regular human. Yuko really loves to eat rice a lot. Actually, scratch that. She really loves to eat a lot, and I can't really blame her there. She also has a love for honey, which is pretty much the reason why she's called Cure Honey. And her connection with Phantom was quite wonderful. She truly understands what Phantom suffered through to make Queen Mirage happy. And episode 31 was pretty much the highlight of Yuko's reasoning as to why she would help Phantom. No matter whether they're friend or foe, she'll always help someone out. Yuko may not have developed much, but I feel that she didn't really need to, as I said before. She's already a fine character as it is. Hime is quite the interesting person, to be honest. She was selfish without a doubt, mostly caring about trying to restore her kingdom. But throughout the show, she learns to care even more about others. She was mostly focused on using the cards to save her kingdom, but decided to sacrifice her wish to save Ayana. To me, that was the starting point of her breaking that selfish side of hers. And it's not just her giving Ayana her pre-cards, but there are times where she would get closer to the ones she met, while also acknowledging her selfish acts, and would learn from them to become a much better person. Though I didn't forget her funny and enjoyable moments, like the mermaid prank that she tried to pull on Seiji, which made her start to believe that she has a crush on Seiji, or her acting as Megami's tutor to help her pass the makeup test. I also admire her being able to break through her shy phase and is now getting along well with everyone around her. But I think the most memorable moment was seeing her embrace her parents after all the hard work she put in to restore her kingdom. And for that, I actually think Hime's developed pretty well. She's a very lovable character from beginning to end. And last but not least, our main heroine, Megami. Now I did say she's the second strongest, however, I now consider her as the strongest cure in the whole franchise. But for how much she developed, I say she definitely improved herself. Megami was influenced by her mother to help others out. But one thing that Megami feared a lot is that her tendency to help out others may come off as being selfish, and that she only helps people just to get complimented on the good things she does. But despite that, she still continues to help people in order to make them happy. Still, Megami did have her flaws. Her not being able to understand that not everybody needs help was a bit of an issue in episode 33. Trying to paint Blue out as the victim even though he was the one responsible for turning the Shrine Maiden into an evil goth blondie. But the biggest flaw is her falling in love with the wrong person. Someone who has feelings for someone else. I know I'm repeating myself here, but again, this was a one-sided love on Megami's end. She was the one who fell in love with Blue, knowing that Blue is in love with Mirage. It was obvious from the start that if Megami goes along with bringing Mirage back, she would lose the one that she's in love with. It was a huge price for Megami to pay, but she was willing to go along with it to make Blue happy. Like I mentioned before in my video on Kill Lovely, falling in love with someone who's dedicated their heart to someone else was a bad move, and I'm glad she was able to learn from that. Not to mention her being oblivious to what Seiji actually feels about her, which is why he was corrupted by Red in the first place. However, Megami learned from her mistakes and became a much better person. And again, the ending does indicate that she and Seiji both seem to have feelings for each other. She's not perfect, but she's someone that I really enjoyed most. From her interactions with her friends and family, to her being able to learn from her mistakes, to her quirky, happy-go-lucky personality, and to her astonishing character development. And that's why Megami is my #1 favorite cure in this whole franchise. Alright, I think now is the right time to wrap this review up. As I said earlier, Happiness Charge Pedicure, while it still has its flaws, it's still the best season I've ever watched. And this 3-hour review pretty much covered it. For an anniversary season, this one is arguably the best one. There are going to be some people who still think it's bad, but as long as they have good and proper reasoning behind it, I can respect it. Regardless of my bias towards this season, if you think it's bad or disappointing, it's alright. Again, I made this review to defend a lot of things that were wrongfully hated on, while also pointing out the actual flaws of this season. At least some people can agree with me that it's a good season. Hell, even some of my friends think it's good. Now with that being said, thank you all so much for sticking with me throughout this 5-part review. I had to do a lot of editing for these videos, but it was worth it. Now I made a poll on my community tab asking you all which of these 3 seasons you would like for me to review next. So we have Smile, Hugato, and Star Twinkle. Votes in the comment section will not count. And after I review the next picked season, I'll make another poll for you to choose between 3 other seasons. But until then, this is the Starlight Let's Player signing out. As always, Goki Genyo, and have a star-tastic day, everyone.
I knew I would fulfill my dream, yeah. They knew I started from the bottom, now I made it, yeah. The possibilities are endless, yeah, I say, yeah. I got the roots and I got everything I need, yeah. And now I'm chilling with a pretty gentle lady, yeah. She got a kind of gentle personality, yeah. She got them curvy hips and a booty for booty.